Hello and good morning, Facebook. Good morning, Instagram, YouTube, wherever you're watching from. I just want to tell you good morning and welcome to I Am My Morning Coffee. I am excited about this morning show. Oh God, I'm just super excited about this morning show. So you all go ahead, take the time, come on in. As you come in, please speak, say good morning. Make sure that you share. I'm terrible at asking people to share, but if you don't mind, if you could do me that solid, if you could come in and share, I would greatly appreciate it. So you all come on in. Hey, good morning, Carl. I'm so happy to see you. I'm always happy to see you, Carl. Just always happy to see you. Thank you so much for always supporting I Am My Morning Coffee. You are one of the best supporters. Thank you. You all come on in. And we're going to get started momentarily. I'm excited because this morning we are going all the way to Australia. I Am Our Morning Coffee have officially gone international, and I am excited to bring on my wonderful and amazing guests. So we're gonna go ahead and get settled in the couch. Come on in. Make sure you like. Make sure you share. We're gonna get settled in, and we're gonna have a real conversation this morning. Now, I do want to note that this morning's conversation may be sensitive to some people, so just make sure you take care of yourself as we're discussing what we're discussing today, and we're going to take it from a different angle. And I just want you to walk with me in this angle. The whole goal of I Am My Morning Coffee is to be transparent, and the whole goal is to share people's stories that are life changing. So you all come on in. Welcome to I Am My Morning Coffee. Make sure you check in and let me know that you are here. All right. And let me turn down my phone. And you know what I've learned? Because I've just been in this amazing well, I'll share that later, but I've been learning a lot just by observing. I'll say that. So let me share my own broadcast this morning. And so, all right. So as you come in, please speak, say hello. It is morning here, but it's evening in Australia. And I definitely want to honor this awesome gentleman's time. And I'm just going to give you the opportunity to come on in and speak this morning. And please share this broadcast. I really think that this is going to help somebody. If you share it, then it'll reach the person that it needs to reach. And you may not even know. So if you can please share, I would greatly appreciate it. Welcome to I Am My Morning Coffee. I am Adelia Johnson. I am your host. This is where God is truly our barista. Praise and worship is our cream and sugar. And this morning, our morning coffee is Mr. Jerry Retford out of Australia. And I'm really excited. It's 10:30 at night there. So, and it's 8:30 a.m. here. So I want to make sure that we honor his time. And I'm so excited that he decided to join us this morning and share his story. Hey, good morning, Nancy. Good morning. So I'm going to give it another 60 seconds and then I'm going to go ahead and get started because I am excited just for you all to meet Jerry and for you all to get to know him. He has an amazing, a phenomenal story of transformation. At the current moment, we're in this series called Transformation Matters. What does that mean? Sometimes when you want to be different, sometimes when you want to do different, you want to be a different person, sometimes people won't let you. Why can't you be a different person? Why can't you change? Why can't you be somebody different than everybody once knew you? And so I kind of got into this series and I'll tell you the backstory. I'll introduce Jerry and then we'll go ahead and get started. So how did this series come about? So I was driving in my car one morning and I was praying. I was praying for people that were dealing with domestic violence. And I was particularly praying for the abused. And God literally gut punched me. And he said, well, is the abuser not above my salvation? Am I not strong enough to save or heal the abuser? I just want y'all to sit with that for just a second. Because I don't know about you, but for me personally, it checked me. Because the question that I pose is, okay, pastors and preachers and leaders, what do you do when you have the abused and you have the abuser at the altar at the same time? Do they both not need some sort of reconciliation? Do they both not need some healing? So And so that's how this series kind of came about. And the Lord just ordered the rest of the steps. Hey, good morning, Charles. Good morning. Good morning. Happy to see you this morning. So the Lord just ordered the rest of the steps, and it led me right to Jerry Retford. And I couldn't have asked for a better person to come on and share a story of reconciliation, truly. So I'm really, really, really excited about him being here. He is a creative at Films for Change, which he uses as a platform to talk about different hot topics in society, such as domestic violence. And he is a reformed domestic abuser. He is an advocate for men's behavioral change and emotional and mental health. So not only did he used to be the one that used to abuse, now he is an advocate for those that want to change, that want to be different, that wants to take accountability and no longer wish to abuse anybody. So, hey, good morning, Olivia. I'm happy to see you this morning. Good morning. Good morning. Make sure when you all come in, please like and share this broadcast. I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. I know this is going to be a powerful broadcast. I talked to Jerry before we even did this live, and everything he had to say was just absolutely phenomenal. So I'm going to go ahead and bring him into the studio. And again, please like, please share, please come with an open mind. Remember, this is a respectful platform, so we will respect everybody's story and everybody's position and where they came from. And so God literally led me to Jerry to tell his story. And so now I'm going to bring him on. And if you want to share with somebody that you know wants to grow, thank you so much, Olivia. Thank you for my people that have shared. If you know somebody that wants to be different, you know somebody, if you yourself has had trouble transforming just because of people around you, then you need to share this broadcast, because this is our series. We're going into Transformation Matters. And so now I'm going to bring in Mr. Jerry Retford, and I'm so excited to have him. Hi, Jerry.
Hey, Delia, how are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you so much for being up this late at 10:30 at
Oh,
night, all the way in Australia.
yeah, hello from Australia across the other side of the world. And you still got Tuesday to happen. I did Tuesday. It was pretty quiet. So hopefully it'll be the same for you.
Well, thank you for that. I'm glad that we got a glimpse into the future, and I'm
Yeah,
looking forward that today
I
is
can
going
tell
to
you
be
the lottery
peaceful.
numbers if you like.
Yes, please. I think we're all ready for that. Are you all ready for the lottery numbers for Wednesday? Because he's done Wednesday.
Done it already.
Yeah, we're ready. So again, good morning, Jerry. We are so glad that you are here. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story and being transparent. I can't imagine just when you first initially share your story, maybe what some of the reactions may be, but I just don't take it lightly at all that you decided to come share with us on I Am a Morning Coffee. So thank you. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you for the opportunity, Adelia. Really appreciate it as well.
It's a it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Yes, thank you, Olivia. My dear, dear sister, she said, yes, international platform, love it. And you made that happen, Jerry. That was you.
No, that was you. You found that. You found me.
I just followed the breadcrumbs. I just followed the
Yeah,
breadcrumbs.
yeah, that's true.
And if at any point in time, if you, as you all are engaging, feel free to ask questions. If you want to come in the studio and talk to Jerry, you're more than welcome to. Just let me know. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. So Jerry, tell us a little bit about you, and what do you want the people to know about you?
Um, wow, not much. Well, I guess I suppose what I didn't start off life wanting to be a violent, abusive person. I think that's to me that's something that I really got in touch with was
Mm-hmm.
um, a small child growing up in England. That's where I grew up, and not I have a photograph of me as a little boy, very happy, smiling little boy, full of joy and laughter, and dressed in a little cowboy outfit of about 4 or 5 years old.
Yeah.
And I look at that photo often and remember the joy and happiness that I had as a child, and wonder where I lost that. And that's what always kind of inside me, I guess, drives me, that a lot of men that I've worked with and in men's behavior change programs, um, weren't monsters. They all started off as joyful little children that didn't want to hurt people and get lost along the way. For me, as a teenager and as a young adult and as an adult, relationships were difficult for me. They were generally painful places, I think, and it was that kind of started to manifest as physical violence later on in life. But they were always very important to me. To me, like, my life was really driven by relationships.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to realize that until I actually sorted myself out, that
Yeah.
those relationships were going to keep repeating the same patterns.
Wow. Okay. So was there ever like a light bulb moment? Was there ever I don't know, like did you look in the mirror one day and was like, you know what, Jerry, you have to be different. What was it, would you say, that kind of triggered you to start this
Um,
road of transformation?
there was no one single moment. I guess when my marriage came to an end, I used like an affair with someone else, another woman outside the marriage, as a safety net in that marriage. And
Mm-hmm.
for me, it was like the bit in Empire Strikes Back when Luke Skywalker jumps off the Sky City because he can't
Yeah.
face Darth Vader. So it was, to me, it was like that. I didn't know what to do.
Wow.
I didn't have any tools. All I had was just bailing. I had to bail.
Wow.
I realized that I didn't want that life anymore, and
Mm-hmm.
that I didn't want my kids to be experiencing that on a daily basis.
Yeah.
I didn't have any other tools apart from just running and bailing.
Mm-hmm.
And so that, I guess, that was the kind of first light bulb moment, if you could call that a light bulb moment. It wasn't a very proud light bulb moment,
Yeah.
but it was just like getting out. I don't know what's going on, but I can't be this person. I
Mm-hmm.
can't be here. And to me, that was the fix. Then it's like, oh, that's okay. I'm not in that relationship anymore, so I won't be that horrible person.
Yeah.
I didn't actually do anything about myself. I just felt that moving on was all I had to do.
Mm-hmm.
The subsequent relationship after that, that woman then had the fortitude to say, look, if this behavior continues, we can't be together.
Yeah.
And so I'd gone from sort of a really abusive, physically and verbally violent marriage to a verbally and emotionally violent relationship after
Wow.
that. And she actually then had the fortitude to say, you can't keep behaving like this. Our relationship won't continue if that continues,
Mm-hmm.
if your behavior continues. And so that kind of drove me to then going, well, what is it? Why am I so angry?
Yeah.
Why am I, what am I taking out on this person?
Mm-hmm.
Why am I so angry? And what can I do about it?
Yeah.
It then took another, I guess, four men's behavioral change programs, 12-step
And
program, and a
and
lot
you
of
said, I'm
therapy.
sorry, I just want to make sure I'm clear. You said it took about 2 or 3
Yeah, the
programs?
first one, I mean, the first one for me was life changing. We have an organization over here called Relationships Australia,
Uh-huh.
and they ran a program called Taking Responsibility,
Okay.
and that saved my life. That
Wow.
program saved my life.
Mm.
And it was about showing violent, abusive men that their behavior is their responsibility,
Yeah.
that they can do something about that, and give a man a tool to use, and he'll go out there and use it. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like
That's an
all of a
excellent
sudden,
example.
yeah. Give a man a solution or a problem. Men are fixers. Men are great. They want to fix everything, except they don't.
Wow.
They look at everyone else and they look at everything and they try to fix everything, but they don't look inside to fix themselves. And all of
Yeah.
a sudden, this course started me on the road to looking inside what was going on for me. And
Mhm.
it gave me the most amazing set of tools to be able to slow everything down in my head.
Wow.
And the first time that that I took that tool and
Mhm.
didn't dump my rage and vitriol on my partner at the time, and
Mhm.
instead I took that rage and vitriol and I took it outside, and I yelled and screamed outside and pounded the ground and pounded a tree.
Yeah.
Um, that was a life changing moment, and it is, because all of
Wow.
a sudden that person is not the object of your rage and anger. You're
Mhm.
just putting that rage and anger out into the universe, and the universe can cope with that. The ground and the trees can cope with that.
Yeah.
And you start repathing your brain. You start making new connections in your brain that go, all that rage and violence is not about that person. It's about something else. And now you've got to find what that is and process it properly. So
Wow.
that was taking responsibility was an awesome course.
Mm.
And I kept going back because I'd never had healing before. Um,
Wow.
I'd never had a spiritual connection with anything before. Like, as a child, I was forced to go to Sunday school. I don't know if you have Sunday school over there, like
We
the
do.
kids go to
We do.
church. Yeah. So to me, that I
I
was
miss
forced
it,
to do
by
that.
the way.
All right. So, and as my memory as a child of doing that is a painful one. It's
Yeah.
a fearful one. And so,
Mm.
I had this kind of yawning black hole inside me for decades that I didn't know what it was about. Um, and So for me to be able to go to something that was healing, to go
Yeah.
to feel something fixing inside, to
Wow.
start working on some kind of connection, um, was amazing. And that's when the kind of ongoing light bulb moments um,
Wow.
happened after that. And it doesn't, the only thing I guess that I feel that I've changed is my rage and anger and attitude towards people and partners and things.
Yeah.
I'm not a great person, but by any means, I'm not a saintly person in any part of my life. I've
Yeah.
just, for me, my relationship now is a safe and a sacred place,
Yeah.
and not a place of vitriol and rage and anger. Um,
Wow.
and that's life changing. That's why for me, Relationships Australia, men's behavioral change, really did absolutely saved my life. And
Wow.
that's why I tell my story, because I know there are men out there that struggle and are in pain,
Yes.
and
Yes.
that are dumping their crap in their relationships, and that are dumping their vitriol and rage and violence on their partners and their families. And
Wow.
I would just offer that, when you hear someone's been through that and they come to you and say, what do I do?
Yeah.
To me, that makes me telling the story worth it, because when I hear someone come to me and say, what do I do? Um, yeah, I just saw Olivia saying safe places are
Yeah.
important. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what, for a man to find I don't know, sorry, Olivia, I don't know whether you're saying safe places are important for victims that are suffering domestic violence, and absolutely that's the priority. Um, But finding a safe and healthy place for a man to express himself, that's really hard.
It is. It is
It's not
because when
down the pub, you know.
yeah, and when you think, and it's unfortunate, and I definitely think that she meant in all aspects of the
Mm,
conversation. But one thing that I will say is that men aren't always extended the same grace and mercy as women per se.
mm,
Or I would even say, let's just say for the sake of this conversation, those that abuse aren't always extended that same grace and space to heal. Because the truth of the matter is, like what you've shared, you all need a safe space too, a
mm,
non-judgmental space where
mm,
you can actually change, where no one is necessarily holding you to what you've done, being accountable, yes, because that's
mm,
something that
mm.
we did talk
That's
about. But also acknowledging, like you said, and I wrote that down, you said you didn't have any tools.
mm,
So so what if the awareness of, okay, there are tools available to change your behavior if you want to be accountable. There are safe spaces for you to go where you can activate that change
Mm.
behavior. I think one of the biggest gaps that we deal with in society is not knowing where our tools are, not knowing that change is even available to happen. Because
And
when you think about being wrapped up in that cycle and in that space, it's hard to get out of it. Especially, is one thing to go Google. I mean, you know,
mm.
help for abusers. You
But
know,
it's something that I took up with White Ribbon over here. I don't know whether you have White Ribbon
white
in the
ribbon.
US. White Ribbon, it's a domestic violence advocacy. It's recently gone bankrupt in Australia,
Hmm.
but it was something that my wife and I both took up with White Ribbon. That they say they're like a domestic violence sort of support
Hmm.
organization.
Yeah.
Um, but when we were looking at working with them, I had to dig down like 4 pages before I found any support information for men
Wow.
that were being abusive. And it's like you can't say that you're an organization that wants to stop domestic violence if all you're doing is band-aiding the issue and not actually supporting its root cause. And that's something that my wife and I are both feel very strongly about. That yes, we need to um, create a safe place and help those parts of the relationship that are being abused, both women and men that are being abused, get them into a
Yeah.
safe place and remove them from that violence. But
Right.
then the abuser is just going to go on to another place. He's just going to go on to another relationship and another relationship,
Yeah.
in the same way that I did. Like, and until you actually deal with the root cause of that, until you actually heal that person's pain and heal that person's behavior, they're just
Yeah.
going to keep on doing it.
It's kind of like a tornado. Just it leaves this path of destruction.
Yeah, that's right. And I
Yeah.
have no idea how people live with tornadoes in the
Oh,
US. Like, it's insane. Like, at least with sharks over here, we don't go swimming, right? We just stay inside and we don't go swimming. How you deal with tornadoes, man? Like,
I'm not a fan at all.
I, we hear about them. It's like, why do they build towns there? I don't know. If I feel for them, like bushfires, we can deal with those. We can put them out with water, like we have those, and I know you have those over there. But tornadoes, there's no hoses big enough for tornadoes. It's
Right.
crazy. I really feel for people that live out there. Terrifying.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it is terrifying. That rage is like a tornado, and
Hmm.
would be terrifying in a house. Like for me, I liken it to me. It's like raging like a 7-year-old boy having a tantrum
Yeah.
in the supermarket. You know, when they thrash and scream and
Yes.
break stuff, but
I've
in
seen
like
it.
a 30-year-old man's body. You know,
Wow. Yeah.
that's what I
That's a
was
great
like.
example.
Hmm. That's what I was like. That's what it was like. And I was really touched at your introduction when you were talking about, do abusers not deserve the grace and forgiveness and things? And I think um, we need to be accountable, absolutely, and take responsibility for that abusive behavior and for our
Hmm.
behaviors, because only in doing that, do you actually look at yourself and start making the change. And that's part of the process.
Right.
Um, Not to get bogged down in self-flagellation and shame, those kind of things, but just
Right.
look at one's behavior and go, what was that behavior? What was I doing?
Hmm.
What is the impact of that on other people?
Yeah.
But I think when someone is changing, when someone actually makes that step, that's when the arms need to open and go, here's someone that wants to change, and here's
Yeah.
someone that needs help. Um, let's say every man that I did men's behavior change programs with, they weren't monsters at all. They were men that had
Wow.
lost their way and
Yeah.
and didn't want to be hurting their loved ones. These were men that did not want to be hurting their loved ones. These were men that wanted to stop hurting their loved ones.
Wow.
And so that was a powerful process. It was taking responsibility was, I think it was a 16-week course,
Hmm.
once a week for 16 weeks. And
Yeah.
every 4 weeks there would be a new intake. So I started the course, and there's men that have been on that course 4 months ahead of me in the same room. And then as we go
Wow.
through the course, I'm in there 4 weeks, and then there's a bunch of new guys coming in. And even after 4 weeks, you're seeing the same kind of minimizing, the same kind of language that I used on my first week, saying
Wow.
things like, I didn't punch her, I just slapped her. So that's okay, isn't it? Or
Wow.
I
Interesting.
wasn't strangling her, I was just holding her by her throat. I wasn't really strangling her. So there's all this minimization, and you've got men that have been in the same boat, keeping you honest and going, mate, listen to yourself. Listen to yourself.
Mm,
So that was healing with other men was very powerful indeed.
yeah. And I would definitely imagine that you would need a safe space to do that. And I want to address some of the questions that actually came in, if that's okay.
Awesome.
Um, oh, okay. Almost thought I lost you. All right.
It's just
One of the
the dark side of the moon. That's all.
yeah, I have the sun, you have the moon over there. It's just a whole bunch of tide and stuff going on. One of the questions presented by Olivia, she said, in your own experience and also helping others in their transformation journey, do you find similarities in yourself and those whom you help, trigger moments and or habits that created those past habits? And I thought that was good to go ahead and transition into that question, because um, you mentioned about how you heard the same verbiage or the same words, like when
Mm.
new gentlemen would come into the program. So what kind of similarities did you find in yourself and those you helped, your trigger moments and or habits that created those past habits?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I love thinking about that because it makes me kind of think back to the people that have come to me and the people that I've sort of healed together.
Yeah.
I think if there was it's really hard to say. There's no real overriding similarity.
Mm-hmm.
A sense of loss and confusion and
Mm.
having lost their way
Wow.
was one overriding thing. A sense of I don't want to be doing this, but I don't know how to stop it. It's almost like an addiction. It's almost like this is
Mm.
the way I am,
Yeah.
and there is no other way for me. Um, and that's why when we're given the tools, it's like this amazing, like I can do something about this.
Yeah.
I can actually change who I am,
Mm.
how I behave, how I respond to stimulus, how I respond to pain, how I respond to ego being attacked, how I respond to argument. I can change all that.
Yeah.
Um, one of the, I think there's a lot of fear in some of the men that have contacted me. And it's heartening to get contacts from around the world when people go, I don't know what to do. Um,
Yeah.
it's also sad because it's like, well, when you're in another country, it's like I have no idea what your systems are in a foreign country, and
Yeah.
why aren't those systems readily available for you? Um,
Right.
but I
Wow.
love that an abusive man can reach out to another man who's been abusive and go, how do I change? How do I stop what I'm doing? And that is, I've always said that's the only reason why I tell my story. I had a friend of
Mhm.
mine. She was doing a huge marathon run to raise awareness of domestic violence in regional Australia. And I
Yeah.
felt that I needed to tell her about my background because she didn't know. I'd never really spoken about it to anybody. And
Wow.
so I emailed her and I said, look, I've got to tell you this. You're my friend and you're doing this about domestic violence in regional Australia. Women have, I don't know what the statistics are in the US, but here it's pretty much daily a woman is killed by intimate partner violence. And
Wow.
I think that's right. It's very high. It's very high.
Yeah.
And she said, would you be willing to be part of a documentary that I'm making about raising awareness on domestic violence and talk about your experience and
Hmm.
the other side? So that was how I started telling my story. And
Yeah.
the only reason I do is so that other men don't have to take as long to change as I did, because it took me 30 odd years to more, 35, getting on to 40. It took
Wow.
me a lot of years. Damn.
Wow.
But, now, my wife has, I guess, the best of me that I've been in my life.
Yeah.
And I believe that, that's the universe going, now you deserve a relationship that will flower and grow,
Mm,
and here's someone to grow with. And I've never been able to experience that before, I guess.
wow. When you said that, the thought that came to mind, uh, this is good. I love when you speak and I take notes. Because I am a note taker, and
But
I just love it.
don't
But when I
send them
wrote,
to me afterwards, hey, because I'll read them and go, what did I say?
yes,
Did I
I
say
will. I
that to
will.
the other? What is that? What am I talking
I will make sure I send you the notes. But something you said when you talked about deserving, I thought about that. Your marriage now, which seems, not saying that, I know every marriage has its issues, but which seems very, very peaceful and
about?
beautiful, um, is that warranted deserving of the transformation. And you couldn't have ever gotten to that place
Oh.
unless you changed.
Mm.
And so there are benefits to changing, there are benefits to transforming. And
Oh, huge.
yeah, and that just kind of stuck out to me. It's like, wow. And I know that this is by no means, as it pertains to this particular issue, but I think about finances, the financial journey that I've been on, really thinking that it couldn't get any better.
Mm.
Like in my head, I had a mental block where I literally thought, this is it. Like, this is how I'm living. I work, I retire, and I'm
Mm.
still struggling. And it wasn't until I actually start using my tools, learning about finances and tools and things of that nature,
Mm.
and actually actually dispatching those tools, and I saw my situation, like my situation is changing before my very eyes. And I love it. And I love what my
Yeah.
finances are doing. And so to take that, so what that says to me is that is a principle. Principles can be used in different situations, no matter what the scenario is. So the principle that you taught me or have shown me today is, if you are equipped to change, and if you have a safe space to change, then you can change.
Mm. And you need to want to as well, I think,
Yeah.
because you can give someone the tools, and you can give them the space and go, look, this is what you need to do, and they can look at it and go, okay, yeah, well, maybe one day I'll go there and change over there. And that
Yeah.
happened. I was contacted probably 3 or 4 years ago by a pastor in the Midwest, and he contacted me through social media, and said, he was acting out abusively, and was very violent, and his
Yeah.
relationship was split up, and he had difficulties because he was also the pastor of a small town, and he had a reputation, and we had
Wow.
some really good online conversations, and we had a couple of audio chats as well.
Hmm.
And but he didn't take the step. He didn't. There needs to be such a falling apart.
Mm.
You have to be
Wow.
willing to completely disassemble where you were, get rid of all the stuff that doesn't work, and put it
Yeah.
back together again. It's not something that you can do and keep 90% of your life. And I think there are so many things put on us by society and by culture, and it's very, men don't get great role models. I really feel that men don't get great role models.
Yeah.
You know, I certainly haven't been, and my stepdad was awesome. My biological father wasn't around at all since I
Mhm.
was little.
Yeah.
And culturally and socially, and in the media and things, there are not great role models for men. I
Mhm.
don't follow sport. I don't, the term sporting hero I find is a bit of a misnomer. I think someone that kicks a ball, catches a ball. I don't really put that in the hero category. Sorry, but
Doesn't quite interest you, right?
sorry. And that is really important culturally in Australia. Like sports, really important. But
Yeah.
until a sports person actually stands up and says, I have an issue with my abusive behavior
Yeah,
and I
wow.
want to change, rather than we
Wow.
just see them in the paper getting arrested for violent behavior or getting
Ah,
AVOs, apprehended violence orders. I don't know what the equivalent of that is in the US. When you're served with an order and you're not allowed to go near your partner.
restraining order.
Restraining order, yeah.
Yes.
So, generally that's the only way we see to find out whether sporting men have been abusive is that they're served with a restraining order, and we hear about it in the paper. But
Wow.
if we could actually follow that person and hear him go, I don't want to be like this, I want to change my behavior, I reckon so many more men would actually stand up and go, damn, I want to be like that guy too. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because nobody wants to
Wow.
be like me. Like, I'm just a regular Joe that's telling a story. Like, it's really hard to kind of inspire loads of people to kind of want to change. But
Wow.
if we had some sporting heroes or some film people, heroes, actor heroes, to put down that
Well,
type.
well, I'll tell you what, you are, at least on this show, and I don't have millions of followers yet, but when I do,
You will one day.
I'm gonna
You
replay this
will.
because the
PD,
people,
you're awesome.
yes, because the people that, and that's where my heart is, though, Jerry. My
It is.
my
I could.
heart,
It is. It really is. I could tell.
my heart is for the people that
Mm,
seemingly no one knows.
mm,
Those are the heroes to me, because like you said, you were accountable and you stood up for
mm,
for for what it is that you were doing. You were accountable for what it was that you were doing, and to me that takes courage, that takes boldness, when your platform really can be built off of transformation. So while the sports person may be the hero, if they ever fess up to, hey, I want to be different,
mm,
I think that we have heroes that are created right here in front of us, which
mm,
are you. I'm excited about exposing the heroes, and
mm.
about
Good.
somebody seeing, just because they may not be a famous name, they can be famous to you because they helped you change.
Yeah.
And that's what makes a person famous, is their impact on you, in
Yeah.
my
That's
opinion.
lovely. That's a fantastic way to look at it.
Yeah, like
I love that way
what
to look.
level what level of, like, my friends are famous to me, like,
Yeah.
I love the ground they walk on because of the
Yeah.
impact that they've had on me.
Yeah. That's gorgeous. That's
Thank you.
gorgeous.
Thank you. And
Good job.
go ahead. I'm sorry. Was there something you wanted to say? I was going to address this other
No,
question
I
here.
was saying that's lovely. That's a lovely thing to. Yeah, they're the famous people in your life. They're the people that are deserving of
Hmm.
your ad, ad, adoration. Is that too strong a word? I don't know.
No, it's
Like
a lovely word.
I
I love
adore
it.
those people that come into my life
Yes.
and are such a positive.
Yeah.
Like my circle of friends today is so much smaller than it was 20 years ago, because
Wow.
they're real, genuine people, um,
Mm.
and I value them so much.
Yeah. Yeah, there's value in having genuine people around you, and I want
Mm,
to talk to you about that in just a moment, about your circle and how the people around you helped change your transformation. How did it help on
mm,
that journey? But one of the questions that we got is, the process for the healing of an abuser ongoing? Should they continue a life of being counseled to avoid reverting back to being abusive? I think that's a great question.
that's a powerful question, and one that just gets me right here. Always, the few times that Melinda and I have stood up and done talks, when people ask that, it nails me to the floor,
Mm.
because it's a great fear that I have.
Yeah.
Um, it's a huge fear that I have, of regressing, of going back to where I was back
Yeah.
then. And I think I spent probably more than I spent more of my life being violent and abusive than I have being serene and peaceful.
Interesting.
I hope to live long enough to outweigh the serene and peaceful outweigh the other one.
Yeah.
Yes, the process for the healing of an abuser is ongoing. Um, I I am aware, like I have very short patience with things, with things like cupboards
Yeah.
that don't open on time.
Yeah.
I allocate a cupboard 1 second to open, and if it doesn't, I'm like, God, cupboard, come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and if I'm sorting through stuff, trying to find something in the garage, that's really frustrating for me. And I'm aware of the impact that has on the people around me.
Yeah.
And I must always be aware of the impact that has on the people around me.
Yeah.
Should they continue life with being cancelled? Look, even though, so 7, 8, 9, 10, it's probably been 10 years, and I'll look at it like being, clean and serene, like
Yeah.
Narcotics Anonymous. It's been 10 years that I've been clean and not acted out violently. And I'm grateful for every single one of those days in that 10
Wow.
years.
Yeah.
And I still have Men's Line, the number for Men's Line, which is like a support line on the
Yeah.
telephone.
Wow.
And I call them less these days. I don't think I've called them for a couple of years now. Yeah, 2 or 3 years. Other things but I know that
Wow.
I can't solve everything inside me. I can't solve everything.
Yeah.
My wife and I, we talk heaps. Our relationship is very much about talking and honesty and communication and sharing feelings in a safe way.
Yeah.
If we're frustrated, we can say that we're frustrated. If we're upset, we can say we're upset. It's not, we don't make it about the other person. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, in some you can make how you feel about the other person, but that's what taking responsibility taught me, was my feelings are my feelings. My wife isn't responsible for how I feel.
Right.
So I don't take it
That's
out
good.
on her.
That's
Yeah,
good.
it's liberating when you actually
I love
realize that
that.
nobody's responsible for how you feel, that you
Huh.
are responsible for how you feel. Nobody's making you angry. Like
Wow.
you can feel angry. That's not the other person. That's all of your stuff inside is making you angry. Nobody's making you happy. That's your stuff inside that's making you happy. So then
Wow.
why would we take that out on somebody else? Um,
That's powerful.
it is. It's hugely
It's
powerful.
liberating.
So much, because you can
Wow.
actually have a conversation with your partner about really um, important, contentious things,
Yeah.
and be totally aware of what's going on for you, and know that it's not their responsibility. But
Right.
we have so much junk inside us. We have so
Mhm.
much junk inside us.
Yeah.
And triggers, like I get triggered. There are little things like someone clipping me on the back of the head will trigger a lot of anger in me.
Yeah.
And I know enough now not to turn around and start yelling at them, but I
Right.
still feel all that anger inside me. And
Wow.
it's like, let's just take a moment. Let's just take a breath, and let's just walk away and go, mate, please don't do that. Hey, please don't do that.
Wow. That's amazing.
But it's still, I get frustrated with stuff falling on my head from when I'm sorting in the garage, and I throw it across the garage. I
Yeah.
still get. I'm not a saintly Buddhist by any means,
Right.
but I don't take my stuff out on people around me, and that, in answer to the lady's question, yeah, that's an ongoing thing, and it's an ongoing fear that I would ever start slipping backwards. Yeah.
What you said was, I mean, you're giving me a lot of light bulb moments here, by the way. But I'm glad that you said what you said about you still having those emotions and those feelings. Because the truth of the matter is, even if you take it out of the context of necessarily domestic violence, I think people get frustrated with having those feelings, having
Mm.
the emotions of whatever it is that you're dealing with, and acknowledging the fact no one ever tells you the emotions don't go away.
Mm.
But they
No, they don't.
but teach us, how do we deal, and how do we um how do we rechannel, if you will, those
Mm.
emotions to get
So
back to a settling place?
one of the great things that I learned, and in the process of all that kind of healing stuff, I did a few Vipassana meditation retreats over a few years, and this is a
Hmm.
10-day silent retreat where you literally just sit and experience whatever is going on for you for 10 days from about 4 o'clock in the morning till 9 o'clock at night. And it's
Wow.
painful and horrible. It's horrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend anyone do it, but do it. Go and do it. Honestly, it's awesome.
Okay.
What I really have come to realize is that feelings, we get so tied up in the physicality of our feelings,
Hmm.
and then we connect them to an emotional mental response that's a trigger. It's like cause and effect, cause and effect, cause and effect,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
really quick,
Definitely.
really quick. Something
Yeah.
happens, but if we slow that down and go, it's like road rage. Like somebody, like someone cuts you up um, in traffic, and almost instantly there could be like, damn, the person like cutting me up, and
Yeah.
angry and swearing and cursing, and
Right.
and I still do that. I still do that.
Yeah.
Um, Most of the time, I'm aware that that's a real affront to my ego, and go, mate, have the road. You're welcome to it. You obviously need it more than
Right.
I
We
do.
share
And I
this
try to
role.
practice that. And then,
Wow.
2 times out of 10, I'm swearing and cursing.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
it's about being aware that, to me, that if we break that down about the road rage, because let's face it, road rage is such a big issue.
Yeah.
It is here. I don't know if it is there. I drove in LA like a few years ago, and I was really surprised how polite and nice everybody was. I was like, wow, that's
You didn't
amazing. It's
stay
so
long
much
enough.
nicer. I, I was amazed. It's so much nicer than Sydney drivers, let me tell you. But it's like, we're not armed over here. See, I think that's the difference.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, there you go. That could be the
That's what
difference. Yeah.
that's what I reckon it was, honestly. Um, but so yeah, people really heard a lot of abuse. The Sydney drivers are very angry. But if we break that down, if we break that down to, someone cuts in front of me in my lane,
Yeah.
that creates this churning in my stomach, this instant kind of feeling right there.
Right.
And but that's not an emotion. That's a physical response.
Yeah.
That's not an emotion at all. It's a physical response which I relate to get rid of that. To get rid of that, what I do is I yell and shout and swear, and that goes away.
Yeah.
And if I do that every day and 10 times a day, well, I've learned that. How do I get rid of that? I yell and shout and swear. And
Yeah.
then that becomes about that person cutting me off and affronting me. But if I slow that down and go, how about that? I've got a really churny feeling in my tummy, and
Yeah.
this guy cut me up. I'm not going to do anything about it. All of a sudden, there is this empowerment of, how
Mm.
about that? I didn't act like a dick. I
Yeah.
didn't shout and swear at this person, and I
Wow.
could just wave them in, and my day gets better.
Yeah.
The moment we do that, the moment we're nice to someone, especially when
Yes.
they're not being so nice to us,
Oh,
um,
yes.
wow, how good is our day when we're nice to people?
Man, that's not so nice to us. That is a secret weapon of mine.
Absolutely, that's
Because
awesome.
I have been so enraged with people, and only because one of my biggest triggers, I can't stand injustices. The
Oh,
nice
yeah,
person being pounded on, or or being
yeah.
taken advantage of, and so it,
Mm.
it makes me angry. And so and so when I see that, I have to respond, with something positive and
Mm.
give them a card. And
Oh,
what
well,
happens is
absolutely.
it throws off their behavior, because it's like, what, you were really kind today. And I just want to thank you for that time that you were nice and kind, and I need you to
Yeah.
keep being that way.
You better be.
So
You
it
better be
almost,
nice
and
more.
you better be nice. That's
Damn.
oh
That's
gosh.
awesome. But it's like, we shouldn't change how we are just to make somebody else feel better, and
Oh,
just meet them. And is it Sun Tzu, the Chinese philosopher, said that be like a bulrush and sway in the wind and
yeah.
don't break. And I
Oh,
think
I love
that's
that. Yeah.
just having these little things. to help us in our day. Like my life today is so much richer, not
Wow.
financially at all. I'm not talking about finance. I'm talking about so much more peaceful
Yeah.
and so much more full of loving kindness and no drama and
Mm,
no toxicity in my life today. And I would wish that on
beautiful.
everybody. I would.
Beautiful. That is beautiful. I just love the process that you talked about. I love how you talked about the tools that you had to change and then just your interaction with other people that want to change as well. We have one more question and then we will wrap up. And
Oh,
I'm
we haven't
trying to
even started yet,
I
Adita.
know,
We
like I can go on for hours to be honest, and I really feel like we need to do a part two when it's daytime for you and evening for me.
we can do that. We can do
Yeah,
that.
I would
Yeah.
really love that because this is something that I think that is phenomenal, and I want to make sure that this reaches the person, the people
Mm,
that need to hear it because, like we talked about. I don't think there's going to be a man or a woman that are going to come on here and say out loud. Sometimes you just have to see and watch and acknowledge that there's help.
mm,
And sometimes that's the biggest key. You don't
absolutely.
you don't have to tell me, that you're abusive. You don't have to tell me what's going on with you. But I'm gonna leave this card right here.
Mm,
And whenever you're ready, just know that you have somewhere,
yeah.
that you can go and you can, talk.
So true.
So
And if those places were available, I really believe that less men would be taking out their violence on their partners in their families. You know, if it was known that they could go somewhere without shame and judgment with other men
yes.
and heal that stuff, I really do.
Yes, yes. So we will do another part. You're going to be a part of this
Awesome.
series, ongoing. Thank you.
Thank you.
And let's see. So her question, she said, just a thought, or maybe it is a question. But do we know if abusers get to a point where they may realize or can see the effects of what they are doing to others? Or is it like having blinders on where they can only see red? So I'm guessing if
Mm,
you're in that moment, do you reckon? Are you conscious? I guess,
mm.
if you
Oh
will.
no, I would. I I'm gonna try and answer that as succinctly as possible.
Yeah.
Firstly, no, there was no time when I was within like enraged and being violent and abusive that I realized, oh, maybe I shouldn't be doing this, but I'm going to keep on anyway.
Yeah.
There was nothing. It was the red mist. It was literally this. Even afterwards, like there was shame about my behavior, but there was no real. Whilst I was in that without any external help, there was
Right.
no real looking at myself, going, you know, okay, what can I do to stop this? As I
Mhm.
said, that it was literally just jumping off the Sky City and escaping,
Yeah.
thinking that was all I needed to do. Um, I will say that what I've come to realize is that the media doesn't focus on the guys that have lost their way and want to get well. The media
No.
focuses on the really frightening, dangerous cases
Right.
that are probably men that don't think they're doing any wrong. Some of the stories that I heard uh, in the production of the documentary here a few years back were
Hmm.
frightening to the extent of, them no realization of wrongdoing
Yeah.
whatsoever. And
Wow.
just for me, none of the men that I did programs with were like that.
Hmm.
But the media seems to really focus on the ones that have absolutely no sense of remorse, no sense of wrongdoing. Um, and so I just want to be. I think it's important to be clear that um, if you're in a relationship, in an abusive and violent relationship, um, it's probably not a safe thing to say, honey, you need to go and get some help. Um,
Hmm.
in all cases,
Yeah.
and like all of the men that were in the programs that I did, their wives had said, you need to go and get some help, or the court had said, you need to go and do a program.
Yeah.
But they all had a realization they wanted to get well. But there's so much care needs to be taken as to how that question is broached and how that subject is broached, because an angry, violent man being told that he needs to get help for his anger and violence is probably not going to be able to hear that too well.
Yeah. It probably doesn't process the
Yeah,
same.
absolutely. And men's
Yeah.
ego, geez, I mean, they're huge. Men's ego
Yeah.
is huge. If people come chipping away at that, we're going to get all upset
Wow.
and have a tanty. We're going
Yeah.
to throw a little tantrum. And
Yeah.
but that's the ego thing. That's all part of it. Like taking that apart, and looking at that as well. So it's a horrible place being in an abusive relationship. It's an enmeshed, unsafe, unhappy place.
Yeah.
And that's my wife and I, when we started Films Changes, she came to me and started talking about wanting to help abusive men. We both had the same idea of the series of films, It's Just a Choice,
Yeah.
that we
Which
wanted to make.
is wonderful. And I want to encourage everybody to go and watch. So
Thank
I
you.
watched it. Yeah. It
Thank
was
you. And
phenomenal.
because it is a choice, it really is
Yeah.
a choice. And the behavior is a choice. And it is such a fundamental thing to get, that
Yeah.
violent behavior is a choice, and it can be reversed. Like,
Yes.
we can, as a man, I can now decide that I'm not going to make that choice anymore
Yeah.
to be violent. And that's when life starts to change.
Wow. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I love it. And when I tell you that I literally could talk to you for hours.
Oh,
I really could.
absolutely. We'll just keep going. I'll go make tea.
Yeah. Look, I'm gonna refill my coffee.
You're lucky you've got one there. I was sitting in backstage thinking, where's the catering?
Listen, when the world opens back up, I will gladly host you here in America.
Oh,
Gladly.
we
I
can't wait
told
to come
you.
over and meet you. We really
Yes.
can't. We
Yes.
really can't.
When you come to Atlanta, I'm gonna take good care of you. And you know what? And
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna take you to a nice hand clapping church, and we're gonna have fun.
Awesome. Oh, that would be awesome. I would love to have that reinvented for me. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're
That would
welcome.
be amazing. That
Yeah.
would be lovely. I'll
So if
hold you
you
to that. Yeah.
yes, please do, please do. So if you could offer anything, we're gonna do final thoughts. Anything that you want to give the people, anything that you want to share with the people, what is it that you want people to walk away from this particular session? Because we're definitely going to do this again. I'm so looking forward to interviewing your wife, and just getting
Mm.
her perspective as well next week. So, what would you like for the people to know in your final thoughts?
I would I would say to any man that is struggling with violence and anger in their relationship, in themselves, to put their hands up and say, I need help.
Mm,
Because things aren't going to change unless you do. But once you start down that road, life gets so much better. I could never imagine I could be as contented and as full of love and joy as I am today 10, 12 years ago. 12 years ago, I was on my knees in mud and filth, bawling my eyes out, having just got home after a 5-minute drive, not smashing my car into every tree and lamppost on the way because I wanted to take my life. And now today, I'm so glad that I didn't. Just put your hand up and say, I need help.
wow, you weren't supposed to make me cry. That wasn't part of the deal.
I didn't see that in the writer. I'm sorry.
I gotta work
And
on
I
the
always cry when
verbiage.
I talk
Like
about
y'all
this stuff.
can't do that. Yeah. But really,
My makeup's all going now.
I know, right? Makeup just
Where's the powder? Dang.
she come powder us. But that was so I'm going to tell you why they're so powerful to me. When you think about the series of events that happened, from that night, and you just think about today, who knew that you would be here today?
Oh, absolutely.
Who knew that you would be? I'm honored. I can't stress that enough. Your transparency means the world to me. And even though I thankfully have never been in a domestic violence situation, I cannot imagine what it's like to feel trapped,
Mm.
to
That'd be
feel
awful.
to feel trapped in your own decisions,
Mm.
and to feel as though that there's no out and there are no doors, there are no windows.
Mm.
I don't even like houses with no windows. So, so I can't imagine that. And I'm so thankful that you didn't take your life. I'm thankful that you are still here. I'm thankful that you made it to tell your story. And I'm thankful that you're transparent enough to share your story, because you are the hero. Bump all the sports, and all of that. Your story makes you a hero, Jerry. Your surviving makes you a hero. Your transparency makes you a hero. It To me, it speaks more volumes for somebody to stand up and say, "Hey, look, I have a problem. I want to fix it. I want to be accountable. Somebody help me." To me, that says so much more than somebody, kicking a ball on the field that has a whole
Mm.
bunch of money, but you can't even get out of your own self and out of your own
Mm.
ego enough to say you're powerful. You are
Thank you.
so powerful through the films, through your story, through so much. There are going to be men and women too that are going to reach out to you even the more. And I just want to tell you thank you for still being here. Thank you for surviving. Thank you so much for sticking around. I think you're great. But I, but this is the beautiful part about
Yeah.
transformation. It leads you to people and places and things that you otherwise wouldn't have ever
Mm.
had access to.
And that's I would never have met my wife today if it had not been for all of that, and I would never have been deserving of her. And wait till you hear her story. Like, she is a hero. She is a butterfly come out of, you know that story of the butterfly struggling out
Yeah,
of the caterpillar. Yeah,
yeah.
she's a butterfly. She's a butterfly.
I am excited to hear her story next week.
Yeah, yeah, and she's heaps nicer to look at than me. So, yeah, that's great.
Oh man, well, thank you so much for joining us,
No,
Jerry.
thank you for the
Um,
invite.
thank
Awesome to be in Atlanta. It's just
Yes,
wonderful.
yes. You
Thank
see,
you.
technology brings us and bridges us. I love it.
Incredible. It's just incredible. It's lovely
Um,
to talk to you, Delia.
yes, yes. It's lovely to talk to you as well. And this will be our last comment. Looking forward to seeing Mr. Jerry on the show again,
Oh,
as well as his
thank
wife. So
you.
you're loved by the I Am My Morning Coffee
Beautiful.
community.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. I look forward to coming back. It's just amazing. Thank you
Thank you,
so much.
thank
Really.
you. All right. You have a wonderful evening and a good
Yes, I can
night's
go to
sleep.
bed now. I can go to sleep.
All right. Take care. Okay.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. You know what? I'm always so very full when I do shows like this. Every show that I've ever done, God has truly guided me in every possible way with every guest. And I'm full on this morning. Transformation does matter. So thank you so much, guys, for tuning in to I Am My Morning Coffee. I am beyond honored that you joined us this morning. I hope that you enjoyed Jerry. I hope that you enjoyed his story. I hope that you don't take it for granted. Changing is not an easy thing, but it's definitely something that you can do. And we're here to help you any way possible. So you have just tuned in to I Am My Morning Coffee. Thank you so much for joining us. Where praise and worship is our cream and sugar. And Jerry Retford was our morning coffee. Join us next week when we will have Jerry Retford's wife. You really want to hear her story. And so I am looking forward to sharing with you, and you all take care. If there's anything or any questions that you have, Jerry is accessible. You can inbox me, follow him on social media, and let's definitely connect. And thank you again for joining me on the show this morning. You all take care and have a blessed day.